to you live from Petoskey, Michigan. It's Northern Michigan's only live and local afternoon talk show, WMKT's Talk of the North. Something on your mind? Call our studio line at 866-371-1270 or connect on social media at Triple Talk WMKT on Facebook and X. Now, bringing you the latest news from the region, states, and around the country. Here's your host, Nick Rudy.
Good afternoon, Northern Michigan. Welcome to WMKT's Talk of the North on 102.3 and 103.3 FM, 1270 AM, Triple Talk WMKT, streaming online at WMKT.thetalkstation.com. I'm Nick Rudy, your host. Thank you for tuning in. It is Friday. You have made it to the end of another work week. Well done. We have a lot to get to on the show today, but we are going to take a quick peek at your expanded forecast. Is this weekend going to be nice enough for you to hang out outside? Well, we'll just have to see. Not looking too promising. Showers, thunderstorms likely tonight. Mostly cloudy skies, a low of about 59. Showers could linger into tomorrow morning. Scattered showers and thunderstorms developing again late in the day. Tomorrow will be mostly cloudy, a high near 72. Showers and thunderstorms will taper off tomorrow night with mostly cloudy skies, a low around 56. Sunday will be partly sunny, a slight chance of showers, and a high near 66. Sunday night will turn partly cloudy, a low around 48, followed by sunny skies on Monday with a high near 71. Well, fall colors are expected to begin arriving in the Upper Peninsula in just about 3 weeks. The Eastern UP could see some changes around September 16th, really good day, followed by the Western UP around September 22nd. Our region here in northern lower Michigan, including Petoskey and TC areas, is expected to begin seeing color around September 28th, peak color around October 20th. Southern lower Michigan will be the last to change, of course, with color beginning around October 2nd, peaking near the end of October. So we're getting there. We're getting pretty close. It is going to be peak colors very, very soon. As I've been saying, the hint of fall is in the air. Fall's my favorite season. Probably said this before. Fall is by far my favorite season. The problem with it, though, is that it means that winter is on your doorstep and shorter days, shorter and shorter and shorter days are approaching. Well, like I said, a lot to get to on the show today. We have a few memorials and visitations to let you know about for two different victims of tragedy here in northern Michigan. One portion of the Little Traverse Wheelway is set to get significant repairs, and a Traverse City man is facing charges for allegedly impersonating a Coast Guard officer. We'll have that and more for you coming up later on the show. Unfortunately, one of the things that is not coming up later in the show is the interview with the Sheboygan athletic director. That has been rescheduled to Tuesday. Personally, I do not think they're blowing us off, but we will continue to aggressively pursue that story for you and hope to deliver it to you next week. Producer Austin informed me that they are expecting to have that conversation on Tuesday. So be tuned in, and I think we'll have that for you. But before we get to everything that actually is coming up later on the show today, it is time for WMKT's Market Watch. The Dow Jones gained 517 points, up to 53,277. The Nasdaq gained 113 points, up to 26,180. The S&P 500 gained 33 points, while Bitcoin, another great day, up $4,449, up to $77,480. It was stagnant right around $65K for the longest time. All of a sudden, 3 days in a row of significant gains. Gold also in the green again, up $83.85 to $4,610.53, while silver gained 76 cents, up to $68.96. Blue chips, notable winners today: Tesla, Robinhood Markets, Johnson & Johnson, Deere & Co., Domino's Pizza, General Motors, and Learcore. Notable losers include Intel and DTE Energy. Biggest gain today, RF Acquisition up 355%. Biggest decline, NFT Ltd down 58%. That has been WMKT's Market Watch. I have not really commented on truly the most trending story across the nation, and in fact, a story that is trending internationally, the Lindsay Clancy case. If you were totally unfamiliar, I'll give you the overview. So Clancy is a mom from Massachusetts who is charged in the January 24th, 2023 killings. So it's kind of par for the course of these stories seem to. I mean, I know the court case is just ongoing, but I mean, this happened 3 years ago. But 2023 killings of her 3 children, ages 5, 3, and 8 months, all by strangulation. She is admitted to the acts, but is pursuing a lack of criminal responsibility defense centered on a severe postpartum mental health crisis coupled with medication prescribed for it. Clancy, who is then in her early 30s, a former labor and delivery nurse, asked her husband, Patrick, to leave the house to pick up takeout and run a pharmacy errand when he was gone. She strangled their children with an exercise resistance band in their basement. She then cut her wrists and neck and jumped from a second-story window. In a suicide attempt, her husband returned, called 911, found the kids. The fall left her paralyzed from the waist down. She's been in a psychiatric facility since recovering in the hospital. There is so much discussion surrounding this story regarding criminal responsibility, postpartum depression, and community response, and very few people seem to have a all-encompassing, mature grasp on reality when it comes to this story. And it's one of those stories that I wanted to sit with for a few days before commenting on it when I became more deeply aware of this story when Daily Wire host Matt Walsh spouted off some nonsense over on X, something he's continuing to do actually today. So first off, postpartum depression is 100% real. I've seen it. Not going to get into all of the details, not exactly my story to tell, but somebody that I'm familiar with had a kid, and a couple of weeks after the birth of her child, went insane. It's the simplest way, the most straightforward way to explain it. It started out like screaming matches with her boyfriend, accusing him of cheating on her, would lock herself and her child in the bedroom for hours and, extending into days. The boyfriend kicked her out, moved in with a family friend, started becoming a severe alcoholic, doing drugs, and would just leave the child with a family friend for days on end, just, on and on and off. Lost her job, lost her car, became homeless, self-harm, the whole 9 yards, and was not on any medication when all of this started. So this was not, some drug-induced psychosis that sometimes we see. I think it got worse eventually when she was placed on medication, but it was certainly not the starting point was medication. So I've seen it. It's real. But just because something inside of you snaps that you have little to no control over does not mean that you are not a danger to society. I think that insanity pleas should be few and far between. Should Lindsay Clancy be one of them? Maybe. I don't know. That's not really for me to say. But regardless of whether she is found insane or guilty, which are the only two options, because again, she admitted to doing it. So it's either insanity or just regular old guilty. She should be held against her will in confinement for the rest of her life. Guilty, life in prison, and possibly, in my opinion, in a just society, the death penalty. If insanity holds up, she should be taken to a psychiatric hospital and stay there getting treatment for the rest of her life. I'm sick of these, results where, okay, well, she's been healed in 10 years and she gets out. Really? No, that doesn't make any sense. It shouldn't be a place that is essentially a prison, but it shouldn't be Disney World either. A place where she can live out her natural life away from the public because she is a threat to us, because something can snap within her. But honestly, the conversation about her, the insanity plea or guilty, it's actually not the biggest issue I have with this entire massive international story. It's the response from the public. On one side, you have morons that deny the reality of postpartum depression, which is totally ridiculous. And on the other hand, you have millions and millions of women around the world, but chiefly in this country, who are supporting her. It's terrifying. Women say they support her, they understand her, and have given her close to $1 million on GoFundMe. I mean, Lindsay Clancy deserves nothing aside from a speedy trial. She admitted to killing her kids. And we have thousands of women on social media saying, I understand how you feel. I've been there. You what? I mean, if I was a husband and saw my wife post, I totally get how she feels. I can relate. Let me donate $100 to her. I would take my kids and ship them off to my parents' house and get her committed to an asylum. You can feel bad for the situation. You can acknowledge what happened to her was largely out of her control. You can acknowledge the pharmaceuticals may have done more harm than good. Have sympathy if you wish. But to line up outside her courthouse with a T-shirt saying, I support you, stand with Lindsay Clancy, that is insane. But let me tell you who I have the most sympathy for, because this is, of course, as usual, there's a group of people who are overshadowed by everything. The outrage machine that is taking sides, all of it. Most sympathy I have for is for the kids, 5, 3, and 8 months old, who were violently murdered by the person who was supposed to love them the most. And their father, who had 3 kids ripped away from him forever and whose marriage was nuked. They're the ones that deserve the most sympathy and the justice. Because that's the other thing. Oh, I hope Lindsay Clancy gets justice because of her medical condition. Look, I hope justice prevails for everybody, but I don't care about her at all. I don't. The only people that deserve justice in this story are the people who died and the people who were directly affected, which is the father and the immediate family. We're going to take a quick break. When we return, local news headed your way after these messages. You're listening to WMKT's Talk of the North on 102.3 and 103.3 FM, 1270 AM, Triple Talk, WMKT.
Triple Talk, WMKT, and the on-air job fair. Now hiring in Northern Michigan, Rommel Logging. Are you an experienced log truck driver or forwarder operator? Family-owned Rommel Logging is hiring. Plus, all job sites are in Northern Michigan, so no overnight travel. Signing bonuses could be available for certain applicants. Log truck drivers and forward operators apply today. Call 989-464-2986. That's 989-464-2986. Equal opportunity employer.
Plan on flying? It's time to upgrade to a Real ID. Because in order to board domestic flights, your driver's license or state-issued ID must be a Real ID, or you'll need another acceptable form of identification. So don't wait. Find out how to get your Real ID at tsa.gov/Real ID. That's tsa.gov/Real ID, or visit your local DMV. And then you'll be cleared for takeoff.
Shopping a store with a door is about more than shopping local. It's about eating local, too. So many of our amazing Northern Michigan restaurants are locally owned and operated, and just as many can be overwhelmed by busy crowds in the summer months. So while local restaurant owners scramble to hire and retain staff, let's do our part to remain patient and treat our servers with respect. Shop a store with a door, and restaurants, too. The service of Triple Talk WMKT.
There's one man on this earth who really, truly gets it.
And, these are the people who were horrified by the actions of ICE. No, I'm not. I love ICE. I want you folks in ICE to know I love you. Get rid of the illegal aliens. It's okay. You may not be popular among these Democrat mayors and governors, but who cares? Who cares?
Mark Levin is on the radio.
Weeknights at 6 on WMKT.
Local news, local voices, and the conversations that matter. You're listening to WMKT's Talk of the North with Nick Rudy on 102.3, 103.3 FM, and 1270 AM Triple Talk WMKT. And streaming across the state of Michigan at WMKTTheTalkStation.com.
Welcome back to WMKT's Talk of the North on 102.3 and 103.3 FM, 1270 AM, Triple Talk WMKT, streaming online at WMKT.com. We're learning more about the Missaukee County shooting. Yesterday, police identified the two remaining victims that family members had not identified. All the victims were known to the suspect, Chad Hickman. The 29-year-old woman who was found in a wooded area next to Hickman near Whitlock Lake was identified as 29-year-old Heather Schwartz, which has now been revealed as Hickman's younger sister. The other victim identified yesterday, 53-year-old John Schwartz, was known to Hickman, but his relationship to Hickman and Heather has not been confirmed by authorities. It was confirmed that the elder Schwartz's body was found in Hickman's home. The lone survivor, Bella Everett, continues to heal in a Grand Rapids hospital. We know people want every detail possible as soon as possible, and we want to deliver on that, but we also want to make sure our information is correct. That being said, I will share some unconfirmed reports in this specific scenario that are saying that John Schwartz used to be married to Chad Hickman's mother, making him his ex-stepfather. That could also mean that Heather is John's daughter, making her Chad's half-sister, but we will share with you confirmed details when we have them. Amanda Everett and her 16-year-old son, Eric Thomas, will be remembered during a memorial visitation next Wednesday. The visitation is scheduled from 4 to 6 at Peterson Funeral Home in Cadillac in lieu of flowers. The family is asking for memorial contributions to Bella's Care Fund at Huntington Bank. More than $28,800 has been raised through a GoFundMe for the family. A Traverse City Central High School student is being remembered by friends and teammates after 17-year-old Wilder Seeberger was killed in a car crash Sunday night. Seeberger was set to begin his junior year and played soccer for the school. During the team's first game of the season, his teammates hung his number 33 jersey on the goalpost. The team also decided to retire his number and bring his jersey to every game this season in his memory. Investigators say alcohol may have been involved in the crash. There will be a community memorial on next Wednesday, 5 to 9 at the open space, 208 West Grandview Parkway in Traverse City. They'll be sharing stories about Wilder, and you're asked to bring any items in remembrance of him. The questions can be directed to Nikki O'Keefe at 231-620-2255. There's a visitation the next day on the 27th from 2 to 4 and at 6 to 8 at the Reynolds Jonkhoff Funeral Home and Cremation Services location at 305 6th Street. Also in Traverse City, there will be a visitation the day following that on Friday, August 28th from 10 to 11 at Trinity Lutheran Church. That is at 1003 South Maple Street. Again, in Traverse City. The Salvation Army in Sheboygan is asking for donations to help local flood victims. A $100,000 matching grant from the Pulte Family Charitable Foundation will double every donation to the Salvation Army's flood fund, benefiting residents in Sheboygan, Emmett, and Presque counties. The Salvation Army says it's just $18,000 short of reaching the match. Funds have helped pay contractor bills, replace household essentials, buy construction materials, and replace damaged medical equipment. A Traverse City man is facing federal charges after investigators say he impersonated a U.S. Coast Guard officer and discharged sewage into Lake Michigan. 52-year-old Brent Tompkins was indicted on charges including false impersonation of a federal officer, unauthorized use of Coast Guard insignia, and violating the Clean Water Act. The charges follow a 2-year investigation by the Coast Guard and Michigan DNR. Investigators allege Tompkins discharged pollutants into White Shoal Light and represented himself as a Coast Guard member while assisting a distressed boater in Emmett County. If convicted, he could face up to 3 years in prison and fines of at least $5,000 for each day of a Clean Water Act violation. Charlevoix County is moving ahead with repairs to the Little Traverse Wheelway boardwalk. County commissioners have accepted a construction bid with contract signing now the next step. The contractor could begin work as early as October, possibly sooner, and repairs are expected to take about 2 months. The boardwalk was closed last year after inspectors found foundation problems beneath the roughly 30-year-old structure. The Top of Michigan Trails Council says it's encouraged by the progress toward repairs and reopening. A 62-year-old St. Ignace man was killed Wednesday afternoon when his motorcycle collided with a Jeep on US 2 west of I-75 in Moran Township. The Mackinac County Sheriff's Office says the Jeep pulled out of a restaurant driveway into the path of a westbound motorcycle. The motorcyclist was wearing a helmet. Investigators say speed and alcohol do not appear to have been factors. The Jeep driver was not injured. The Health Department of Northwest Michigan announced that Riccardi Park in Bel Air will remain under a partial body beach advisory through the weekend and will be retested on Monday. Under this advisory, wading, paddling, and fishing are considered safe. Republican U.S. Senate nominee Mike Rogers is trying to win over Michigan Democrats who supported other candidates in this month's primary. At a Detroit event yesterday, Rogers said he wants to earn Democrats' trust and represent all Michiganders. He highlighted children's literacy, affordable housing, and improving credit scores as priorities. Several Democrats spoke in support of Rogers, citing disagreements with Abdul al-Sayed on issues including health care and Israel. Al-Sayed's campaign responded by tying Rogers to President Trump and accusing him of supporting Trump's agenda. A social media page, Democrats for Mike Rogers, has nearly 10,000 followers on X. Northern Michigan is receiving millions of dollars through a new round of Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund grants. Governor Whitmer announced yesterday that $45 million is being awarded for 75 land acquisition and park development projects statewide. Locally, East Bay Township is receiving $4.8 million to acquire an easement on the 333-acre Ridge Nature Preserve, permanently protecting public access and future trail connections to the Tart Trail system. East Bay Township also gets $400,000 to extend the 3-mile trail to a trailhead at the Mitchell Creeks Meadows Nature Preserve and $300,000 to build a trail loop, new entrance and gravel parking lot at the Holiday Woodlands Natural Area. Grand Traverse County is receiving $400,000 to reconstruct the Vasa Trailhead with accessible parking, a plaza, and connector path to the Vasa Pathway. Long Lake Township is getting $133,200 to improve trails at Cedar Run Creek Natural Area, including replacing boardwalks and rerouting trails off private property. Elmwood Township is receiving $400,000 to build a 10-foot wide multi-use trail along Cherry Bend Road, connecting the Tart Trail extension with Cherry Bend Park and the Leelanau Trail. Leelanau County gets $50,000 for a crushed stone pathway to the fishing ponds at Veronica Valley Park, along with barrier-free parking and interpretive signage. And the village of Thompsonville is getting just shy of $300,000 to pave 1 mile of the Betsy Valley Trail between the village and the Betsy River Bridge. The Charlevoix Historical Society is hosting a program on the golden age of passenger steamships next Tuesday. The presentation begins at 6 at the Charlevoix Public Library and will be led by maritime historian Valerie Van Heest. The fully illustrated program will explore how steam power-fueled industry, economic growth, and recreational travel in the late 1800s. Van Heest will also share stories from her underwater expeditions of Great Lakes shipwrecks. The event is free and open to the public. A temporary disaster relief center is opening in Central Lake to help residents affected by April's flooding. The center will be located at the Central Lake AmVets building on South Main Street and will be open daily from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. through Monday. Residents of Antrim County and surrounding counties who suffered property damage or other losses in the flooding are encouraged to visit the center for assistance. Cherry Capital Airport is updating its long-range strategic plan as a major terminal expansion moves forward. Airport officials are focusing on safety, security, air service, finances, customer service, and infrastructure. They also want to expand police coverage to 24 hours a day, build cash reserves equal to a year of operating expenses, and retain and grow flights to markets including Dallas, Houston, Denver, and Boston. The airport is currently working on a $120 million terminal expansion, expected to be completed in spring of 2028. Officials will also begin developing a new master plan for future growth, including a possible third concourse. The 120th Emmett Charlevoix County Fair will get underway Monday and run through August 30th at the fairgrounds. The week-long event features 4-H livestock shows, agriculture exhibits, arts and crafts, the Skirbick Family Carnival, and daily entertainment for families. Grandstand highlights include a cornhole tournament. On Tuesday, country music star Travis Tritt. Wednesday, professional rodeo. Thursday, and monster truck throwdown on Friday, followed by autocross on Saturday. The fair opens daily with admission at $6 for adults and youth 13 and older, while children 12 and under get in free. Parking is also free. Fair officials say about 25,000 people attend each year. The Michigan DNR has secured permanent conservation access to more than 73,000 acres in the UP's Michigami Highlands. The area includes forests, lakes, wetlands, and Mount Arvin, the state's highest natural point. The deal will protect wildlife habitat and provide permanent public access to 140 miles of trails for hiking, biking, horseback riding, snowmobiling, and ORVs. The DNR says sustainable forestry will also help support local industries. A Presque Isle County man is a $1 million Powerball winner. 66-year-old Charles Hilger Jr. of Millsburg matched all 5 white numbers in the July 25th drawing to win the $1 million prize. The winning ticket was purchased at the Bassel Oil location on South 3rd Street in Rogers City. He recently claimed the prize at the Michigan Lottery headquarters in Lansing. While typically out of our typical reporting area, this story could set a precedent statewide. A lawsuit filed this week in Genesee County Circuit Court is focused on flock camera footage, but experts say this could have a far-reaching implication. Kettering University student Joshua Tawalda filed the lawsuit this week. While doing research, he requested flock camera data from the sheriff's office, but was denied. Mackinac Center Legal Foundation senior attorney Steve DeLee, who's representing Joshua, says his interest is long-standing since he was looking into the technology a while ago. County officials claim they don't own the data. However, DeLee says the contract shows Genesee County does own the information. DeLee says this could set a precedent when it comes to local governments using private tech companies to hide public data. Over the past few weeks and months, we've had some notable updates on the Line 5 tunnel project, but perhaps the updates, while important to know, have muddied the water, pun intended. But where do we stand with Line 5? Well, first, as many of you know, the state's long-running debate over Line 5 is still unsolved. The 73-year-old pipeline's future beneath the straits is tied up in court battles, permit decisions, and political debate. Enbridge Energy continues to operate Line 5, which can carry up to 540,000 barrels of petroleum a day between Wisconsin and Ontario. Opponents want the pipeline shut down, citing the potential environmental damage of a spill in the Great Lakes. Enbridge and the company's supporters instead back a plan to move the pipeline into a 4-mile concrete-lined tunnel beneath the straits. The tunnel project recently received a key federal permit from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, but construction cannot yet begin. The Supreme Court of Michigan overturned a 2023 state approval for the project, saying regulators have not adequately considered its environmental impacts. The Michigan Public Service Commission now must reconsider that permit. Enbridge is also still waiting on a state wastewater permit for construction, with a decision expected by September 30th. Other state permits face potential legal challenges as well, many of them from tribal governments. At the same time, lawsuits over Michigan's efforts to shut down Line 5 remain unsolved. Governor Whitmer ordered the pipeline closed in 2020, but Enbridge challenged the order. A federal judge later ruled Michigan does not have the authority to shut down the pipeline, and the state has appealed that decision. The issue could also play a role in the November election. Candidates for governor and attorney general have taken different positions on the pipeline and the state's legal fight with Enbridge. The U.S. Senate race could also influence the debate, but senators do not directly oversee the pipeline and have not made it as much of a focal point of their campaign as James and Benson have. For now, Line 5 remains in operation with the shutdown, while the shutdown effort and tunnel proposal continue through the courts and regulatory process. Something I found interesting while I was researching for this report on the latest on Line 5, in Bridge, Michigan, there was an opinion piece from a man named Jim Lively, who is currently the Director of Program Strategy for the Groundwork Center for Resilient Communities, which you've likely heard of before. It's an environmental nonprofit based in Traverse City. Anyways, back in 2018, he wrote in Bridge, Michigan, quote, "While the idea of an oil pipeline and a tunnel sounds safer than 2 aging oil pipelines swaying in the open waters of the Great Lakes, Snyder's solution misses the mark for 2 obvious reasons. One, his backroom deal with Enbridge leaves the existing risky pipelines in place for what is likely to be more than a decade, while this far-fetched tunnel is argued over, engineered, permitted, and funded, and this dubious tunnel idea has virtually no benefit for Michigan citizens while securing huge profits for Canadian pipeline company Enbridge and refineries in Montreal and Quebec." He says it would have taken a decade for the tunnel to be built and the original lines to be removed, which is enough of an issue. He was, by the way, not alone in this assessment. I remember hearing the same commentary from other people saying the project would take too long. years. Well, it's 2026. It's 8 years later, nearly that full decade he was talking about, and the permits haven't even been laid out. But what if Line 5's tunnel project never got pushed back and it went according to plan? Proposed in 2018, the same year this article was written, in 2019 and 2020, engineering, geological work, tunnel design, and construction of the specialized boring machine would have been done. 2020 to 2021 would have been spent obtaining the necessary permits. Late 2021, they would have began boring the tunnel. 2021 to 2023, about 2 years of tunnel construction with Enbridge estimating an average boring rate of roughly 40 feet per day. The first half of 2024 would be testing and commissioning the new Line 5 segment inside the tunnel, and the second half of 2024 would be decommissioning and removing the old Line 5s. Line 5 would have been removed from the Straits 2 years ago. The only reason it's not is because of these alleged environmentalists. They're the sole reason the pipeline still exists, not anybody else. Michigan deer hunters will see several rule changes when the 2026 season gets underway. The early antlerless firearm season will run September 12th and 13th alongside the Liberty Hunt. The statewide muzzleloader season is being shortened to just 3 days. December 4th through the 6th, the late antlerless season will start earlier, and all deer hunting seasons will end January 1st. Michigan is also eliminating the limited firearm zone, allowing legal firearms statewide. Hunters will have new antlerless license limits depending on where they hunt. Digital deer tags are also available through the DNR's Hunt Fish app, and hunters must report harvested deer within 72 hours or before transferring possession. Michigan is set to invest $40 million in dual enrollment, an effort to get more high school students taking college courses before graduation. Michigan has ranked among the lowest states for dual enrollment. School officials have traditionally had to use their own per-pupil funding to cover the cost, which officials say has discouraged wider participation. The new state funding will prioritize districts where more than half of students are economically disadvantaged. Education officials hope the investment will expand access and help more students graduate high school, enroll in college, and eventually earn degrees or career credentials. Northport Public School Superintendent Neil Weatherby says the funding should ease financial pressure on districts and could lead to more students taking college courses, especially in northern Michigan. Advocates say $40 million is less than the $60 million they wanted, but consider it a important first step toward helping Michigan reach its goal of having 60% of residents hold a college degree or skills certificate by 2030. You are now caught up on local and statewide news. We're going to take a quick break, and when we return, we'll be joined by producer Austin to talk a little bit of sports that's headed your way after these messages. You're listening to WMKT's Talk of the North on 102.3 and 103.3 FM, 1270 AM Triple Talk WMKT.
Fox News, I'm Tom Graham. Vice President J.D. Vance delivering remarks in his hometown of Middletown, Ohio today, speaking in support of the Trump administration's America First economic agenda.
Today, both President Trump and Vice President Vance are on the stump. They are selling one message that they believe the economy is growing, this despite concerns about inflation, the national debt, and the cost of living still lingering.
Fox's Mark Meredith. President Trump holding an event in South Carolina today ahead of the midterms. Democrats arguing their policies would make life more affordable for more Americans. Cleanup is underway after a rare tornado tore through Dover, Delaware.
The National Weather Service has yet to survey the damage here, so we don't know the EF rating. I'm giving it loosely as a meteorologist, perhaps an EF1 rating. But again, the damage here is extensive. They don't typically see things like this here.
Fox Weather's Michael Estime. America's listening to Fox News.
Why do you love Shriners Children's?
I love seeing all the opportunities she gets from being here. It's the look on her face the first time we walked in and she saw somebody else that looked like her.
They take good care of you.
It's just amazing because when I come here, I feel like I belong.
Shriners Children's provides specialized care and therapy that helps kids like me do what I love most.
At first, when the accident happened, we didn't think she was going to walk again, but when she came to Shriners, it gave us hope that, hey, Braylee's going to walk again.
This place is amazing, and I can't believe how much it's helped me through my hard times.
What I love about Shriners Children's is the mission. There's nowhere else in the world that I could provide the care that we provide for the patient and the family.
Thank you for helping us do what we love the most.
To learn more, visit loveshriners.org. Thank you.
This is the 102.3 and 103.3 FM, 1270 AM Triple Talk, WMKT Community Calendar. On Tuesday, August 25th from 7 to 9 a.m., join the Walloon Lake Association and Conservancy and the Petoskey Regional Audubon Society for a guided morning bird hike at the Postal Farm Preserve. Experienced birders will help you identify local species by sight and sound while exploring habitat along the watershed. It's a great way to sharpen your birding skills and enjoy a quiet morning on the trail. The event is free and open to the public. On Friday, August 28th, the Monster Truck Throwdown at the Emmett Charlevoix County Fair is back for one night only. Massive trucks, jaw-dropping stunts, roaring engines, and non-stop action. Gates open at 4, pit party at 5, and the engines roaring at 7. Get your tickets now at tickets.emmettcharlevoixfair.org. And don't forget your ear protection. And on Monday, August 31st from 1 to 3:30, join the Friendship Centers of Emmett County for their euchre tournament. Enjoy friendly competition, great conversation, and plenty of laughs. All skill levels are welcome, even if you're new to the game. Come for the cards, stay for the fun, and they'll save you a seat. The community calendar is a service of Triple Talk, WMKT.
Every act of change begins with a neighbor, with someone saying,
"We take care of each other here."
In food banks and food pantries, neighbors pack fresh food and dignity into every box, moving food from farms to families through Feeding America's nationwide network. So when that box reaches a home, it carries more than food. It carries a promise that together we can end hunger. Feeding America, led by neighbors. Take action to end hunger now at feedingamerica.org.
Hey, are you driving high right now? You might be, because a whole lot of people do. They say marijuana makes them a better driver, more careful, more focused. That's probably what the guy who killed a 4-year-old thought. And now, he's in prison. You see, no matter what you tell yourself, if you feel different, you drive different. So if you're high, just don't drive. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Celebrating America's 250th anniversary with the national anthem on WMKT.
Triple Talk WMKT weather forecast.
Cloudy this afternoon. We have more light rain possible. Temperatures are in the 70s, but we do drop to the low 60s overnight. We have more rain and scattered thunderstorms tonight. By tomorrow, it'll be cloudy with rain early on. More scattered thunderstorms by Saturday afternoon. And on Sunday, although there's some more sunshine, still chances of rain with temperatures only in the upper 60s as our high. That is your latest weather forecast on 102.3, 103.3 FM, 1270 AM, Triple Talk, WMKT.
If it happens in northern Michigan, you'll hear about it right here on WMKT's Talk of the North with Nick Rudy on northern Michigan's News Talk leader 102.3 and 103.3 FM, 1270 AM, Triple Talk, WMKT, and streaming online at WMKTTheTalkStation.com.
Welcome back to WMKT's Talk of the North on 102.3 and 103.3 FM, 1270 AM, Triple Talk WMKT, streaming online at WMKTTheTalkStation.com. Our phone number, 866-371-1270. Again, that is 866-371-1270. Producer Austin is in studio with me now to talk some sports. Tigers, well, let's just take a look at the MLB standings for the American League wild card. Does anybody want that final playoff spot? Because the Tigers in the last 2 days have played one game in which they've lost, and they haven't lost any traction. They're still technically a game and a half back. It's ridiculous how bad the bottom half of the American League is. The Twins and Rangers are tied for the final wild card spot. Tigers are 5 games below 500. They're 5 games out of first place in the American League Central. Again, there's so much to talk about. I've talked about a lot of it during this week. Haven't had much time the last couple of weeks to talk with producer Austin about it, but it is just a who is going to choke the least, I think, is going to end up winning the wild card. Not who earns it the most, but who chokes the least.
Yeah, this is just a head scratcher for sure. Because, you just mentioned Tigers are a game and a half back. They lost the last 5 out of their 6. And they're facing the bottom of the barrel with the Kansas City Royals in the AL Central, where it would be super nice to have a sweep, but I'm cautiously optimistic about them winning 2 out of the 3, where we have Troy Melton starting tonight, which is kind of a nice breath of fresh air, as Troy Melton has been our most consistent and most unhittable pitcher in the last several weeks since we made those certain trades at the trade deadline. But this team has a lot to prove still. They're young. I don't want to say they're in a good spot for the future, and everyone's saying that, but they are. And I think what Tigers fans really have wanted is, we were in the playoffs the last 2 seasons, and we wanted to bulk up this team with a contender to make it past the ALCS and to potentially go to the World Series again for the first time since 2012. I don't see that happening, and it seems like the front office is kind of just adamant about adding younger guys to the roster and not paying very much.
Not paying very much indeed. And it's weird because when the Tigers, my next point is going to be weird, because when the Tigers play division opponents, generally speaking, I mean, Cleveland stinks. Always gives us trouble. The Royals, they stink. Give us trouble. The White Sox have stunk for years and are now giving us trouble. But I will say the one team that we play in our division, that I watched them year in and year out, I'm like, these are just a bunch of bums. It's the Twins. I've watched the games against the Twins. It's a bunch of nobodies. They're awful when we play, and we've actually generally won the last couple of years against the Twins. How are they? They're the team that's in the final wild card spot. We should not be in this situation. And again, it all comes down to the bullpen. It is remarkable. Like, there are so many stats that say, oh, the bullpen is a there was one stat that they were quoting on the TV broadcast a couple games ago. They're like the 4th best ranked ERA in the American League for bullpen. I'm like, it doesn't make any sense, and it's because for some reason when they come in from like the 4th to the 7th inning, they're lights out. They've got to be lights out. But when they come in the 7th, 8th, and 9th in a close game, they just fall apart. It's those middle innings that they're really good at, and if they're up by a bunch or down by a bunch, because the offense was either really good or the starting pitching was really bad, so we're up big or down big, they're pretty good too, even in the late innings. It's the close games, and the problem is when you get to the playoffs, they're all close games. You're not gonna win a 5-game series, 3 games, 7-0. It's going to be 4-3 the entire way, if not 2-1 sometimes. And so, especially because everybody has their aces pitching the entire playoffs, so you got to win really close games. And when you flip the bullpen over, when you're playing the Tampa Bay Rays in the ALCS, and Kenley Jansen waddles out to the mound, that's not going to work. And so, I don't know. I mean, could the starting pitching rise to the occasion? Could the bats rise to the occasion? I mean, they have really all year. In the American League, they are a playoff team for everything except their bullpen. I mean, the plus 82 run differential proves that to you.
Yeah. And just to go back to that statistic for a second, that means nothing when your bullpen gives up 17 games for you to lose in the 9th inning, to all the walk-offs, if I believe it right. Where I'd say the best example is just this past Wednesday. Pittsburgh was down 3-2 going into the bottom of the 9th, and Kenley Jansen was on the mound. And again, it's not just Kenley Jansen, but he's been a very big part of it. And then one home run goes by, tie game, and then the walk-off home run goes by, and they win the game. Pittsburgh does. And I'm just thinking, like, my goodness, this bullpen sucks. They're terrible.
The funniest part of it is like, it's that meme. It's like, our expectations were low, but I can't say the rest. But
I didn't know they were that low.
Right, because it's because I saw Kenley come out and not have his A stuff. I'm like, I'm worried that this is gonna go to extra innings. Yeah. But that was the worst that I expected. I actually was like, it's gonna be extra innings, because oddly enough, like for the last couple of games, they've been doing okay. The bullpen has been. Sure enough, it's right back to where they were for most of the season, and they don't. It's not extra innings. And the funniest thing was, I actually had that thought, Austin, that okay, this is only going to go to extra innings. It's going to be a tie game, and then he'll get out of it, because there was 2 outs for both home runs. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
I was like, whatever. They got their one. We'll go to extra innings, and we'll see. I'm not too confident we're going to win, but it's going to go to extra innings. Yeah. And on top of that, I actually had to step away from the broadcast, and I come back 30 seconds later and update the ESPN app, because I was like, I want to see if it's extra innings. Nope, 4-3 final. I was like, you've got to be kidding me.
Yeah. I was listening to our broadcast on our sister station, 104.7 1340 The Ticket, and I heard the crack of the bat, and I was like, oh, yep, that's a home run. And then I'm thinking to myself, here's Dan Dickerson, who is a phenomenal play-by-play guy, by the way. I just had that gut feeling about, here comes a walk-off home run. 2 seconds later, crack. Crowd goes nuts. Dan Dickerson's calling it. He's disappointed, you can tell. Walk-off winner for Pittsburgh.
Yep. And the last 10 games for everybody that's in this playoff race in the AL, there's only one team that's been playing well recently. It's the Blue Jays. And they're also not a very good team either. But they're 7-3 in the last 10. That's obviously very respectable. But you got the Twins at 5-5, the Rangers at 4-6. Cleveland at 4-6, the Tigers at 4-6, Baltimore at 4-6, and the Mariners at 4-6. Nobody wants this playoff spot. Nobody's 7-3 outside of the Blue Jays. None of those teams have a winning record in the last 10 games, except for one. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 teams still in the mix, and none of them want it. It's ridiculous, and every single team can say the same thing. Everybody else is gifting you this finals playoff spot. Nobody wants it. Take it. The Tigers have 3 games against the Royals. And boy, like I said earlier this week, they have to have this sweep, Boston, because they fouled it up against the Pirates. They needed to win. They need to win 4 out of 6 there. That's what the goal was. They can still do that by sweeping. That's what they have to do, because guess who rolls into town? The Tampa Bay Rays, who we've actually played really well this year so far. But that's never a guarantee when you're playing the first place team in your conference. And then the Dodgers come into town, and Tarek Skubal currently is scheduled to pitch. And you better believe he's going to have a big old fat chip on his shoulder, and he's going to tell, I can't remember the guy's name, the manager for the Dodgers, hey, I never went, I went like once in my Tigers career, more than 90 pitches. I'm pitching the full game because, he wants to stick it to him. Say, look at what you're missing out because you wouldn't pay me. And so I could totally see this guy coming out and trying to hose us. I really don't know who you have the advantage, though, given to in that scenario, because, all right, we know all of his tricks. But there comes a point where even if you know what's coming, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, honestly, I'm going to play a little devil's advocate here. I would love to see the Tigers hit several home runs off of Tarek Skubal.
I would love that too, but is that going to be reality?
No, I'd say maybe one, because he's given up a home run in almost every single start that he's had. One in Chicago, one in the other start before that. I believe it was Arizona. But I would just find it to be laughable for both situations. If it was a low-scoring game, maybe 2-2, the Tigers' only scores are 2 home runs off of Tarek Skubal. Maybe the Dodgers get a few base hits and get in a few RBI scores. And he's just striking out everybody else, and it comes down to the bottom of the 9th. Walk-off home run from Riley Green if he's healthy again.
And Riley does not have that clutch gene. It's going to be from somebody else.
Watch it be from Zach McKinstry out of all players.
I love that. That'd be hilarious. They keep him in just for the lefty-lefty matchup, and Z-Mac goes yard.
Or even the rookie McGonigal.
That would be nice as well. So Tigers have a huge game. Melton's on the mound tonight, so I'm feeling pretty good. The lineup is not as bad as I've seen it in the last couple of games. It's not, what I was seeing 3 weeks ago that I felt, oh boy, this is a great lineup. But you got Torres leading off, playing second. Hao Yu-Lee over at third. He's been phenomenal offensively, but dude cannot play defense to save his life. I think he's had 3 errors in the past week.
Yeah, probably.
He's not very good defensively. But McGonigal at short, Dingler in at the 4th spot. He's catching, and we need his bat to heat back up because it's been about 2 weeks of just oof. The MVP conversations are iced completely with him. He needs to start hitting, not just clutch hits, but he just has to start hitting. I don't think he's hit a home run I can't remember. It's been a long time.
It's been mid-July at least.
Yeah, and then Valencia's DHing. Torque is in at the 6th spot, which, by the way, well, actually, I'll get to my point here in a second. Then Malgiri, Clark, and Baez. I don't know why Clark's been down the lineup so far. I guess it's just because it's been working, so they keep him there. 2 things about the lineup. One good, one bad. We'll start with the bad so we can end with the good. I don't know why they do not have McGonigal leading off. His power has not fully developed yet. He has power, but, it's going to take time. That's the one thing that he probably really needs to fully develop as an offensive player. He is a leadoff hitter right now. We need him in the leadoff. It's not that Torres hasn't been good, but you need McGonigal up leading off. I know that they don't have Riley Green, to put at the 3. You got to figure something else out. But I will say Torkelson had a terrible last couple of games, but there was about a 2-week spot where he was pretty much the only piece of the offense that was working. Outside of Hao Yu-Lee, believe it or not. But Torque being down at the 6th spot has worked. Don't know why. They've buried him. The first baseman should not be that far down in the lineup in Major League Baseball. But when he's been batting 6th or 7th sometimes, Zach McKinstry was hitting ahead of him a couple of times. And Torque was, I think he just gets maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I think he has a little bit of time to watch his teammates bat. I think he's getting the report card from them, not just before the game, it's all the scouting on the pitcher. But I think it's like, what's he doing now? He has a little bit longer of a time to adjust. And I like that because with his power, if he actually has time to adjust in game, it's more likely he's going to hit that clutch home run or get that clutch extra base hit. So I like him hitting 6. I really do. But Dingler has to wake up.
Yeah, and I will say, I do like Clark further down. Yes, he is a rookie. He got called up later in the year, but he's been hitting pretty well since he got called up. And I think having him in that 8th spot gives a little bit of depth to the back end of the roster, especially with Baez and Malgiri being right around him as well.
Scuffling too.
Yeah, so I think having Clark there, it works in the Tigers' favor because you add more depth and more strength to the bottom of the lineup.
Don't understand what happened to Baez. I know he's been a disappointment for generally his entire contract with the Tigers, but he came off the IL and he was raking for a week, and now he's disappeared completely.
Yeah. We'll see how he goes.
Thanks, Austin.
Thanks, Nick.
That is all the time that we have for today's show. Thank you, as always, for listening. I will be back on Monday with more of the news you need to know. You're listening to WMKT's Talk of the North on 102.3 and 103.3 FM and 1270 AM Charlevoix. WMKT. Have a great weekend.